Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on Hypixel Skyblock, and today we are going to be talking about which sword reforge is the best. So, what I've done for today is I've collected the reforges we're going to use and a bunch of wooden swords, and that's just to keep the damage consistent between weapons, because obviously if I compared the damage of a Withered Hyperion to a Fabled wooden sword, that wouldn't be a very good damage comparison video, wouldn't it? So I'm just going to reforge a wooden sword with each of the reforges I am going to use, and that will just mean I can keep a damage that is consistent throughout these. That means I can also get rid of these other wooden swords I accidentally crafted too many. So let's first look at the reforges we're going to be using. So first, we're going to be looking at the Wither Blood, which gives the Wither reforge. I've actually got that in my Hyperion right now. The Suspicious Vial, which gives you the Suspicious reforge. The Dirt Bottle, which gives you the Dirty reforge, and the Fabled reforge, which comes from the Dragon Claw. These are reforges that I've seen a lot of people talking about, and a lot of comments and questions asking which one should you use and which one's the best. If you don't know already, I have a full video on which reforges you should use for talismans, and in that one I made brief comments about the sword, and there are a lot of questions in the comments as to which one was actually the best. So in this video, I will reforge to all of these reforges and see which one I should actually use. Before we get into it, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 7,000 subscribers, and every little bit helps, so please subscribe. And let's get back to the video. So let's first just get a bit of a taste of the damage we're doing in the wooden swords. And by the way, I'm using the accessory optimizations that I showed in the previous video. With that, I'm getting 3 defense, 148 strength, and 250 crit damage, which is not great, but it's fine. And plain wooden sword deals about 1,421 damage on crit, so that is pretty good. That's just going to be our baseline, 1,418. So let's just write down somewhere in the range of 1,400. I'm going to write that down as 1,412 to 1,418. Okay, and now let's just go reforge the rest of these swords, because it's going to be pretty interesting to see how the damage comparison goes. So, to reforge weapons, just go over to the Reforged Stone. There's a free one right over here, and you can also use one on your island if you want to buy one, but I don't particularly. So there we go. Withered Wooden Sword, Suspicious Wooden Sword, Dirty Wooden Sword, and Fabled Wooden Sword. And obviously, these reforges go up as you change to different rarity of items, and they will deal different amounts of damage per rarity of item. And of course, Withered specifically also goes up with your Catacombs level. My Catacombs level is not great, but it can vary for different people, so if you have a higher than average Catacombs level and want to check out yourself what the Wither damage will do with a wooden sword, then go for it. Honestly, it didn't cost that much. I think it only cost about 3 million coins to buy one, so yeah, they're not that expensive if you want to do your own test. But let's start out with the Withered Wooden Sword. That deals 1,672 damage on average. Yep, there we go. And that is a decent bit more than the plain wooden sword. Let's next look at the Suspicious Wooden Sword. 2,383. And we'll go back over here and check. 2,383. Yes, that is 2,383 on the Suspicious Vial. Dirty Reforge gives us 1,410, which is not great. Somehow that's actually less than we got before I reforged it. I'm not sure, that maybe that was a fluke. Okay, 1,424. It doesn't really seem to have changed it. It's honestly pretty similar to what we were getting before, so I'll change it to 1,424 just so we keep a consistent number. And then finally, for the Fabled one, let's check it out. 1,836, 1,625. 1,716. This one is a bit more variable because you have an extra chance to deal up to 20% more damage. So yeah, that's what kind of makes this one harder to judge, but let's do a few hits and see what the highest number we're able to get is. It seems like our peak is being about 1,824, but because things can deal different amount of damage in different places, let's look at it with a different mob. It's maybe not a zombie, so let's go into dungeons. Let's go to the entrance floor of dungeons. So let's collect the dungeon orb and start the dungeon. For this, let's play Berserk, just because that's a pretty common class, especially in my audience from polls that I've done. So let's go to the conclusion of which reforge should you use. So, from these tests that I've just done with the wooden sword, out of dungeons, the plain one did 1,412 damage, the fabled one did 1,824 damage, the withered one did 1,672 damage, the suspicious one, which is our winner, dealt 2,383 damage, and the Dirty one dealt 1,424 damage. But remember, the Wither does scale up with your Catacombs level, which does actually make a pretty big difference. And that Fabled can vary around, and I basically went with the one that I was getting most commonly for 20%, so you won't always get that, and it can be lower than that. And with Dungeons, for Plain, I was getting 2,052, with Fabled, I was getting 2,145, with Withered, I was getting 2,190, with Suspicious, 2,328, and Dirty, 2,120. And our winner for Inside of Dungeons was also Suspicious, which is not who I thought would win this. So it seems like Suspicious is surprisingly dealing a decent amount more than the rest of the Reforges. So, from what I can tell from these tests, I would recommend trying out the Suspicious Reforged, and see whether it deals more damage for you. But it also does depend on which weapon and which stats, so this is just the blank test for on the average thing, which is better. If you would like some more in-depth guides on which ones you should use for specific weapons, for example, some of the fishing weapons or different stuff like that, please let me know, and I will work on that type of guide as well. And in the meantime, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.